Welcome back to Success with Steven. My name is Steven Smith. On this channel, we talk about financial literacy. But for today, I have a special video for you. I want to actually talk about some lessons that I've learned. And, these lessons that I learned actually kind of help shape me well into my early 30s right now. And when I'm saying the title of the video, I am being a little facetious. I don't really think that I actually wasted my 20s. I don't think it's possible to actually waste time. You just exist. And whether or not you feel like you had a quality existence is up to you. And this will actually go into some financial literacy topics in the video, but a lot of the things that I want to discuss will be psychological concepts. And I think that finances and psychology actually kind of go hand in hand. So over the last decade, I've learned a lot of information about making money. I've learned a lot about patience. I've learned a lot about happiness. So today I would like to just be able to share all of that information with you. And my hope is that this inspires you. I hope this teaches you something. And I hope it encourages you to, embrace life, all of the ups and downs. I think everything is an experience. It's not really a mistake or technically a success. That's all your perception of what you think a mistake was, what you think a success was. So this is just all about experiences. Life is a journey for the most part. It's not a destination. So we're not trying to really reach a certain point. We're just trying to learn from all of our experiences that we have while we're here. So yeah, let's get right into the video. 7 lessons that we're going to be talking about right now. And let's start with lesson number 1. So the first thing that I learned is, or one of the most important lessons that I eventually learned is that I know nothing. I know nothing at all. And I have this quote here by one of my favorite people, Neil deGrasse Tyson. And he says, "There's no shame in admitting what you don't know. The only shame is pretending you know all the answers." And I believe that wholeheartedly. Another one of my favorite quotes is by Socrates. And he said, "All I know is that I know nothing." And this consisted of 2 paradoxical things, because Socrates clearly was a wise person, in my opinion. But he also was wise enough to understand that his wisdom wasn't superior over the wisdom of other people. So you can learn as much as you possibly can learn, but in this world, you can't know everything. No one knows everything. Information changes constantly. And the only constant is that you won't know everything, because it's impossible. You will never know. And in the past, in my early 20s, I would say I was very arrogant, like most people are, when you're still learning. And I would dismiss a lot of things that other people would say to me. And then I realized true wisdom comes to each of us when we realize how little we actually understand about life and about the world around us. Things constantly change on a daily basis. And if you're not open to change and you're not open to new information, you'll stunt your growth. And I'm sure that you've met people like that in your life, where they seem to be stuck in a mindset from a much younger time. And it's like they just stopped right then and there. You don't want that to happen to you. You always want to understand that you're going to be a student of the world for the rest of your life. And yeah, everything around you is going to be your teacher. You'll never stop learning. And this is also the reason why I stress the importance of financial literacy. And this will kind of take us into the next important lesson. And that's going to be time is a construct. And I can actually break this down into 2 different parts. You have time, right? You don't know how much time that you're going to have left, but despite what people think, time is not money. Time is life. And as long as you're breathing right now, you have life currently right now. This is your time, and it's yours to do with what you choose. Again, no one knows how much you have left, but What we know is what's going on in the present, and you have the present currently at this time. Learning financial literacy is one of the most important things because it will stop you from working for a living. That is, to me, that is the beauty in it and the beauty in the education. So many scientists and philosophers, they argue that time is not a fixed and objective reality, but rather it's subjective. It's a man-made illusion. And Albert Einstein once said that people like us believe in physics. They understand the distinction between past, present, and future is only a persistent illusion. And for me, I believe that that's letting us know that no matter what we think when it comes to time, none of that is actually real. So here's the other part to this lesson that I actually learned. There's a lot of people who may want to do something, but they're thinking, "Oh, I'm in my early 30s, 40s, 50s. I can't do that thing because it's too late." And I think that's a crime for you to think something like that. And one of the examples that I had is Morgan Freeman. He started numerous successful stage productions, children television series before his big break with Street Smart, which earned him an Academy Award nomination. And he was 50 years old at that time, 50. And 2 years later, after that, age 52, he got an Oscar nod for Best Actor. So there's a couple of different things I can use for this. For an example, like Robert Downey Jr. With what happened with him and then having that break with Iron Man and then where that led his career. He was 38 when he started that. So my point is that there were some times that I thought, man, if I didn't do this by the time I was 25, I'm lost. If I didn't do this by the time I was 30 years old, I'm lost, man. I'll never be able to do it. I don't believe in that. You really are as old as you feel. Time is truly just a construct. And whoever told you that you needed to conform to something because of your age, they sold you a lie. I don't believe that at all. So that brings me to lesson 3. Now, this is something that you may or may not feel, but it's something that I learned. Your passions don't have to necessarily be your career. And this was important to me. It was a huge lesson because I do believe you should do what makes you happy. I like making music. That's my passion. It makes me happy to do it. I spent a majority of my time trying to make my passion into a lucrative business, a long time. And it did make me money. But later I realized I would do this whether or not I got paid for it. I would do this for free. So once I understood that, I stopped trying to make my passion into a business. Because when you do that, sometimes you end up compromising some of your morals just so that you're able to make money. And if you have to jeopardize your art or your passion to be marketable for the world, then I feel like you're selling yourself. And I'm not going to sell myself for anything. I'm not going to sell myself for anybody. If there's anything that I'm going to do, it's going to be because I enjoy it. It makes me happy. There are some things that you end up doing because you have skills, and this is one of them. And sharing my skills with people and individuals, even if it's not something that I planned on doing, it's fulfilling to my life. And I think that it's good to have purpose, but even with your purpose doesn't have to be your passion. So I'm not saying that you should compromise on anything. I'm not saying that if you have a dream, you should not make that dream your career. If you can and it makes sense, perfect. But if you love doing something and you feel like there's a really big gap between what you want to do and turning it into something that makes money, and you can't seem to, close the gap, just know that the two don't have to be intertwined, and you can actually separate both of those things, and you don't have to compromise on whether or not, you have to sell this thing that you love. And that's for me, a very important lesson. And I'm glad that I learned it within this time frame. So lesson 4 was for me to stop comparing myself to other people. I think that is like one of the worst things that you can do. And comparing yourself to other people is the quickest way to, and I said fail, but let's not even say fail. It's just the quickest way to make you unhappy. It doesn't make sense. If you really think about it, what does that ever get you? So weighing your own accomplishments, your lifestyle, your self-image against someone else's is just, it doesn't make sense. As though you're on the opposite end of a balance beam. It's just a really, really bad idea. Don't ever do it. This is so harmful, and potentially it undermines all of your goals. And I think it's for a simple reason. This doesn't make it true. I'm just saying that this is how I perceive it. I think we are biologically programmed to put a greater emphasis on the negative. It's negativity bias. So, for example, I can get 1,000 comments of people just telling me how much of an impact I've had on their lives. One person will insult me, and I keep thinking about that one insult. But I had 1,000 people tell me that I helped them. But why is that one insult stuck in my brain? And that's what that is. And therefore, when you compare yourself, or more precisely, almost your worth, to someone else's, you have a natural tendency to overlook the positive, positive, and the natural ability that you have. It's really a terrible thing. And again, it's like your brain is programmed to zoom in on things that it wants to fix. It's always trying to find areas where you fall short to make improvements. Like it's a survival mechanism. I'm not really sure why, but it's just something that we tend to dwell on. And dwelling on it is a choice. You choose whether or not you want to do that. It's always best to choose to avoid it. Even if the thought comes, meditate, practice that. Practice positive reinforcement. Always try to do that. And it's just, to be blunt, it's just non-contextual judgment on yourself that does not serve you. That state of mind does not serve you. And you're highly unlikely to find any motivation or to do anything productive from those thoughts. Tuck them. I'm not saying you won't have them. It's almost impossible not to. If you're of the world and you're around other people, it's almost impossible. Tuck it. Meditate. Positive reinforcement. That's always going to be one of the greatest things that you can do for yourself, and one of the greatest things that you could do for your mental state. Lesson 5 that I learned is no condition is permanent. Nothing that's currently happening now is going to last. So change is constant. The only constant in life is change, yet when change happens, we are often surprised we are all human. Another one of my favorite quotes. And your current condition cannot outweigh your future glory. It can't. There's no situation that's going to last forever. Whatever afflictions that you have, whatever suffering that you think that you're going through, the disappointments, physical pain, emotional challenges, financial stress, challenging times never last. All right. And you will always rise above them as long as you choose to do so. Not saying that you won't get into a situation where it gets tough. It always gets tough. You're tougher. At least in my life, in my lessons, in my 20s, I learned that there's nothing that I couldn't overcome. If I'm alive, I'm breathing, I can do something tomorrow, and it can be different. My life can change whenever I so choose to make it change. So just remember that everything is constant, and that no matter what, you can make it through, and tomorrow will be different than yesterday. Don't forget that. Lesson 6 might be one of my important lessons, my favorite. They're all important, but this may be my favorite. And it's discipline is true freedom. And I cannot stress how important this is to me. I think discipline is this is the thing that literally is gonna it's taking me everywhere I want to be. So saying no to distractions to me is freedom. Like self-discipline, it allows us to do more of the things that truly bring us happiness because we are choosing to do less of the things that drain us. You need to have self-discipline. Self-discipline can improve every aspect of your life. You're less likely to give into temptation. You're less likely to make a decision that's impulsive. You're able to push yourself to achieve things that you never thought were possible. You set high standards for yourself and you work hard to meet those things. And there's so many things that I tried to like avoid by doing this. I thought I was giving something up by being disciplined, and it just gave me so much more. I mean, you'll have personal and professional successes. You'll feel proud of yourself and your accomplishments, and ultimately, it just helps in every aspect of your life. It helped me become healthier. You know, this means I was less likely to overeat, overindulge. Exercise was a big part of that. Getting enough sleep, bettering my mental health, bettering my financial security. That's one of the biggest things. Look, when you're disciplined, you are less likely to make impulsive purchases. That's a big thing, or spend money on things that you don't need. And this means you have more to put into your investments. And this can mean that you're going to make a more informed decision from doing that. You start to look in the long term instead of the short term. And I mean, last but not least, self-discipline just makes you happy. I think that it's one of the greatest things that you can do if you want to be happy. You're less likely to dwell on negative thoughts or engage in self-destructive behaviors. It pretty much eliminates all of that. And yeah, this is probably, out of lessons, the greatest thing that I probably can. It's like a gift at this point. I mean, it's the greatest thing that I've ever learned. Lesson 7 is failing is how you succeed. A lot of this stuff is going to be subjective because you may look at this differently. But for me personally, failing is my favorite thing to do now. Failure is the beginning of a success. You have to fail. There's no way to avoid it. You're going to experience hurt, whether that be physically or mentally. You have to learn how to deal with reality. You learn how to pick yourself up. You move on. You become successful, and it's a process that needs to be learned. I think if I'm being honest, you really never fail if you're following a process where you're learning. It's not really a failure. I feel like in school when we have tests, they grade us. You get the grade, you fail. What I believe that we should do, I should be able to retake a test as many times as I want to until I get everything right. Because what does me trying it one time and failing even mean? Why can't I take it again and then I go from a 60 to a 70 to a 80 to a 90 to 100? You shouldn't only get one time to attempt something. You should be able to attempt it as many times as you want, right? To the biggest failure, like if we want to really talk about failure, is when you give up or you quit. But if you're failing for the process in order to become successful, it's one of the greatest things ever. I mean, I'm in love with failing. I fail on a daily basis. And whenever I fail, I get better at it the next day. Hey, I work out till I go to failure. And then tomorrow I push a little bit more, and then I work out again till I go to failure. And I'm a little bit stronger than I was yesterday. That's just how I think about it. But definitely another one of the greatest life lessons that I feel like you can get. So if you're in your 20s, or even if you're in your 30s or your 40s or your 50s, Any experience that you have or you've had is not wasted. You're going to do something, you're going to go through something, you're going to learn something. And if you gain something from that, a piece of knowledge, a feeling, a lesson, it wasn't wasted. Nothing is wasted if it was gained through experience. I believe that all of those can have a positive impact. And again, that's a part of that mentality. If you look at every experience and it has some association with something negative that you keep in your mind, that's just your mindset. If you look at every situation and try to find the positive outcome in that situation, it will only make you improve. So, again, when I've made this video, it was more of to encourage you to take more chances, take more risk, fail more, experience more, and do it in your 20s, in your 30s, in your 40s. It's your life. It's your time. I think you should make the most of it however you see fit. Thank you so much for watching this video. You guys have a wonderful day.